Hi, friends. It's Heidi M. And I'm back to talk about a film that I got to see premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, but it's now finally coming to cinemas. I'm excited that some of these films get to come out to the public soon after the festival. Other films take a little longer to get to us. But today I'm going to be highlighting the film Nouvelle Vague by director Richard Linklater. And to speak about the film and the making of the film, we have a producer and writer, Michèle Halberstadt-Pétin. Michelle is somebody who's well known in the film industry as a producer. She is the co-founder of a Paris-based distribution company called ARP Selection or Selection, and has brought films worldwide to us. And I'm excited to hear more about Nouvelle Vague through her perspective. But just to let you know a little bit about the film, Nouvelle Vague is Richard Linklater's love letter to the revolutionary magic of the French New Wave. And it is a reimagining of the making of Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless from the 1950s. It stars Zoe Deutsch as Jean or Jean Seberg, and Aubrey Delon as Jean-Paul Belmondo, and Guillaume Marbec as Godard himself. Guillaume Marbec was here in Toronto, Canada for TIFF, and it was really a treat to see him debut in this film as one of his first feature roles. And he did such an excellent job in the film. So shout out to him. And the film itself, it has been described as a cinephile's film, and I totally echo those sentiments. There's a lot to appreciate from the storytelling because it is a Richard Linklater film, and also from the technical side of things, there's some really great historical context in that there was a lot of research material available for the film crew that was making Nouvelle Vague this time in our time, I should say. So I will be speaking with Michèle Halberstadt-Pétin. Stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Hi, friends. I actually joined today virtually by someone who's you wear many hats, Michelle. This is Michèle Halberstadt-Pétin, writer, producer, and you did a bit of acting as well, Michelle.
Oh. Sometimes we call
Um,
it acting.
Yes. So I'm speaking with you today about a film that I got to see at TIFF this year, Nouvelle Vague, where you have a couple of credits. But maybe let's start with a little bit about your career in terms of segueing into filmmaking and the different aspects of filmmaking.
Well, I started as a journalist,
Hmm.
movie journalist. I was head of the French magazine Première, which I also started in the US in the 90s, if you remember.
Yes.
I remember the first cover of the American Premiere was Diane Keaton in Baby Boom.
Oh, love her.
And I was an advisor on the American issue. So
Hmm.
anyway, after writing about movies, you want to make them. You want to go on the other side. Which is what I did with my husband. We decided to work together. He used to work in marketing of films.
Hmm.
And so we decided to start a distribution company.
That's right.
And so we started buying films, uh, watching them and buying them. And our first success was the third film we bought
Hmm.
and never worked before. And it was Raise the Red Lantern. No Chinese film had ever worked.
I love that film.
Um, And actually, we got the movie because nobody else wanted to offer an MG. No big
Wow.
companies or small companies because they had never worked. And we
Right.
were just so in love with the movie that we managed to convince them to try us.
Hmm.
And so that was our first hit. And then we had Raise the Red Lantern and we did many, many Asian films. And then I was lucky enough to discover Wong Kar-wai and to introduce him in France
Hmm.
way before Tarantino discovered it for the US.
Of course.
So we released his five first movies.
Mm.
So slowly you distribute movie that you see, and then you get scripts, and then you think, well, I might as well have somebody write the script, and you become a producer. Nothing was planned. It's just a logical step forward, if you want.
Sure. Progression. It made sense.
Right. And
Hmm.
then I also always wrote. I was always very into writing, and I published 9 novels.
Yes.
And so I always have my hand into script writing, whether I get a credit or not. I don't really care about credit, but I'm always involved with that side of the job, which is
Mhm.
writing.
That's right. Um,
So
Go ahead.
Yeah, so when Richard Linklater came to us, uh, he knew that I had a link with Godard, that I knew Godard really well,
Right.
personally and professionally. And so it all came together, in fact, for this movie. All the tools that I had practiced before came in
That's right.
handy for this one.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been described not just by myself, but different people as a cinephile's film. Those of us who've grown up watching film and maybe are familiar with Godard or not, this is another kind of window into his filmmaking and the French New Wave. When you decided that you were going to join this project, what was that research like? I remember at TIFF for the question and answer session, learning about using some of the original, not just the archival materials, but the equipment as well. I wanted to hear your point of view.
Yeah, it's a very well documented shoot. We know everything about that shoot.
Hmm.
If you really search well, which we did, you can even know what they shot on each day, how
Right,
many shots, how many takes. And we even managed the camera you see in the movie is the actual camera he used on the set.
right.
So it's all really documented, and then it was just a question of deciding how far we would go from there,
Mhm.
or how close do we get to it, how far do we get, and if we want to go far, at least we know the truth.
That's
For
right.
example, I remember the scene in the travel agency.
Hmm.
They did 4 takes, so we said, okay, so let's say we do take 3, and then we're gonna let them understand that there's going to be a take 4. It was a game like that. But for
Right.
example, there was one day on set where I really wanted to have a close up of Zoe Dutch playing Jean Seberg, and the crew was tired, and it was about to rain, and the first AD came to me and said, "Come on, that shot they didn't shoot on that day. They reshot it the next day." I said, "Hey, give me a break. This is a shot I want to make now." So sometimes it plays against me, as a producer.
Sure, for sure.
So,
Um,
and then because it's so well documented, you also have a lot about Godard himself.
for sure.
Biographies, documents, Godard by Godard, letters, and I know his estate well. So I was in a good position to be able to really thoroughly check what we were doing.
For sure. Was there anything that was sort of a surprise to you in the course of the research or through shooting or any kind of special highlight?
Well, they keep saying there was no script, but he did write every morning.
Hmm.
So there was a kind of something, even if you don't call it a script. He
Right,
didn't arrive empty-handed on the set, which is
right,
a bit what I thought.
right,
Actually, between his notebooks and what he wrote every morning at breakfast, they had something to work on. They could
right,
chew on something, even if they couldn't rehearse, if they couldn't learn the lines, they still were fed lines, real line. It was not all improvisation, which is the kind of idea I had, and
that's
which was
right.
completely wrong.
And I
He
think
was much more prepared than we think he was. I
that
think he
makes
was more prepared than he would let them know it.
sense. So maybe that was part of the genius of it that he already
I think
knew,
so. I
right?
think he pretended not to know when he knew exactly. Yeah.
How did you use this material in your role as helping with the writing for this film?
Well, I had the basis, which was a script already, an original script that Rick had worked with Holly and James.
Yes,
And so I just had to put my shoes into their feet
yes.
and just make sure it would work. And
Hmm.
also sometimes it didn't translate in French, or it was too nice in American in English, but in French it wouldn't work. But they were very cool with that.
Yes,
They really let me take over. And then what was really decisive was the 2 weeks of rehearsal that Linklater always do with his actors.
right.
And so he said to them, look, you have 2 weeks. We're going to rehearse in locations,
Hmm.
and feel free to all the ideas that you have 2 weeks to tell them. Give
That's
me ideas, say whatever you feel about your character, invent words. I'm open. I take everything. But
right.
once we start shooting, it's over. And if you have a brilliant idea, then too bad for you. You told me before. So every night they would come back with new dialogues.
That's
I
right.
had to make sure they would fit the 59 spirit of the script.
Exactly.
So
That's
that
right.
was an adjustment every night. that
Mhm.
needed to be done. But
That makes
it
sense.
did, you know.
That makes sense. But it seems so seamless when we watch the film, right? In
Yes,
terms of it's
that's the
so
magic. That's the
that
trick.
is the magic of it, I think. And I'm just gonna share an anecdote. I was sitting next to somebody who was older, and I think at the end of the film, he just said, everything about it was just beautiful because he appreciated the technical side of the
Mhm.
filmmaking, but also just the being immersed in that time and kind of taking us back to that kind of cinema that we don't often watch, or maybe we don't watch as often unless we're fans of, some of these filmmakers. So it was nice to hear that.
And it was also the big bet of the movie was to put you in 59.
Hmm.
It was very much where we shoot and how the VFX were going to be made, that they should
Yes,
be invisible. You never tell yourself, oh, this street is well remade. No, no, no. You are in 59. You don't even wonder if it's possible, you know. It's a suspension of disbelief that really works, I think.
I think
And that was
so.
really crucial. That was really crucial in the success of the film as an object, you know.
That's right.
Here
Um,
you are in Paris in 59. You're with them. You're not watching them from your seat, which is also why we needed unknown faces to
mhm.
believe as Godard and Mondo Seberg, or you wouldn't have believed in them. You know,
I was going to ask you about
we
that.
cannot do Timothée Chalamet doing Bob Dylan. That's not the
Yeah.
idea.
Mhm. So let's talk about your casting and what was that like in terms of finding just about the right folks for the roles?
Well, it was having a great casting director who
Mm.
for 6 months looked everywhere.
Hmm.
And then he sent us tapes, and then we started shooting in March, and we started the callbacks October before. So between October and end of January, October, November, December, January, we
Oh,
had
I
the cast.
see.
But by Christmas, we already had Belmondo, Godard, Truffaut. And the only thing we knew we had was Jean Seberg, because when Rick arrived in Paris, he said, Zoe is going to be my Jean Seberg. So we
Okay.
never looked for her. It was
Oh,
always her.
right.
But
That's
yeah, the
so
main
well.
cast we had by Christmas, and then we had 2 months to search more.
Hmm.
But once we had the main Cahiers du Cinéma group, you know,
Yes,
we felt, okay, those are the most important ones. If we can get away with those, then the rest will be feasible.
for sure. And in terms of the post-production and sort of
Mhm.
having the time to make it seem like the film is also shot the way Godard would make his film. So was that
Yes
already on
and
the page?
no, yes and no,
Mm.
because there's no jump cuts, there's no, it's really shot like an Linklater movie, and
Right.
also apart from the last frame of Zoe Dutch, which is shot exactly like in the movie,
Yes.
there's not one shot similar. We are always looking at it from a different angle.
Mm.
We're never in the camera is never where Godard camera was. It's
Right.
like a making of camera. It's never the right camera.
Hmm. That's a good point. Would you say that that was something that Richard Linklater had already thought about beforehand and brought it to you?
Absolutely. That was very clear from the very beginning. It was a Linklater movie, it was not a Godard movie. It was Linklater looking at Godard. He was not pretending to remake anything,
Right.
just looking at him making the movie. And the movie is not called Breathless, it's called Nouvelle Vague. It's
That's
really
right. Hmm.
about this time and place and mood. And it's a hanging out movie like all his movies, you know.
It is
That's not so
actually.
much a Linklater movie.
Yes, and I think that's why it works so well in that we feel, like you said, we feel like we're with them during that
Yeah,
time.
we're hanging out on that set, you know.
Yeah, it makes us want to hang out on a patio and just have a nice coffee, no?
Exactly.
Um, it makes me also want to go back to Paris and kind of revisit those areas where I don't think I've had the luxury to visit. So I'll take that into account.
It's all there, but there are signs in the streets now.
A little bit different, yes,
We
for
have to
sure.
erase a lot.
Absolutely. What was it like to sort of be behind the scenes for yourself? I know that you talked about the post-production being very thought out, but now that is sort of you've seen where it comes from and it's traveling through the festivals. What are some of the reactions that you've kind of taking with you as the film travels through the world now?
Well, I'm very proud how people relate to the French technician.
Hmm.
People cannot believe that the VFX were done in Paris. They all think we went to London or San Francisco or
Right.
LA, whatever. And when you said no, it's a French team in Paris, they are stunned. So I'm really proud of that.
That's right.
Proud of the fact that we discovered so many new faces, which I'm sure are going to be in the French and European and American movies for the next 10 years. To see that Guillaume Marbec, who plays Godard, is in the
Yes.
10 tours variety. I'm really proud of this. Yeah, because you go from scratch and you have nothing in your bucket,
Mm.
nothing that people can envy or desire. And all of a sudden you create this object of desire, which is amazing. And also it was so funny because for months I could tell people thinking, oh, it's going to be about Godard. It's going to be, hagiographic and boring and intellectual. No, it's a comedy. Seeing people making a movie is always funny.
Yes.
We're all so silly, being so intense on something that's so, anecdotal in a way. When you see it made, when it's not assembled, it's just silly. And we know how silly we look. But if you do it in all innocence with all your heart, I think the beauty was that the whole crew was so proud to be there,
Yeah.
so adamant on making it perfect, that I really believe we have the best version of this movie. I mean, there's nothing we could have made better than what you see on the screen.
Hmm.
Maybe it's not to everybody's liking, but this movie, the way we wanted it to be, the movie, it's exactly what you have. So
Yes.
I think that's what I'm really proud of.
Yes, and I think that's sort of what I'm telling friends as well, in terms of whether you know Godard's films inside out or not, but you're just appreciative of the art and the actual
Just
filmmaking.
movies, exactly, just
You know?
filmmaking. I always say to people who are afraid to see it, it's not Godard and Belmondo, it's Jean-Luc makes his first film. That's how we should sell it. The
That's a
guy
great
is still
point.
Jean-Luc, nobody knows him.
Hmm.
Nobody knows the guy. And
Right?
Belmondo is the same. He's a guy who's just back from the army. Nobody knows him. He's been in one short and he has a big nose and he's more interesting in boxing than in cinema.
True.
So everybody can relate to that.
Hmm.
Just a gang of unknown people making the first movie. That's what it is.
It is true. It is very true. And Linklater is really good at that, at capturing
Yeah,
those moments between people and the relationships that are kind of developing as well. There's so many different nuggets in the film that I don't want to talk about the film because I think people should see it and kind of experience it. But there's a lot of different scenes where you kind of just feel like there's something about it that you can relate to whether or not you are in filmmaking because it is around the
absolutely.
people. Can you talk about your production team in this film? It also seems like it was a really cohesive group and everybody was also as invested as they would have been.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not a very big crew. I think we were 100 people. It's not crazy.
that's right.
And we had a very strong first AD
Hmm.
we had worked with before, who's an amazing guy who knew this period of time by heart. So he was like,
Nice.
he was really my wall
Hmm.
and my warrior. And any question I knew, he would never find stupid. He was always there.
Hmm.
The DP, it was a big responsibility, and I was really lucky that Richard Linklater trusted us so well because he didn't know anybody of that team.
Right.
It's the whole French team. So
Hmm.
DP is a young guy we've worked with in the past who worked with Bruno Dumont, who's a wonderful, wonderful, dedicated guy. The costume and set design, the best girls in Europe, really, I believe so. Very, very documented, very talented. Everybody, we just assembled the best team we could and that we knew was there, and they all made themselves available for the project. Honestly, there was a real desire of all those people to, oh, you're doing this. Oh, okay, let me work on my schedule.
That's
That was
right.
the attitude, which is great because nowadays to get those people, they work for platforms. They make
Right.
better money, and
Hmm.
they are hired for a longer time during the year, and very often you lose them to
Sure.
platforms. Now
Hmm.
it's very hard to find good teams in Paris when you want to shoot a movie.
Oh, I
So this
see.
movie, they all said, okay, let me become available.
Hmm.
So that
Like
was really interesting.
that makes sense because I feel like people would understand the significance of this film as
Exactly.
well, right?
Everybody wanted to be part of it.
Hmm.
Really. So we were
Absolutely.
really, thank God we won them early in advance, really early, but they were all managed to make it work. Everybody wanted to make it work.
Yes, and I think that
Proud for us, and that an American of this stature would come here and make this movie. I mean, come on, we have to be up to it.
for sure. But it's also, again, just the love of the filmmaking process and the love of also telling the story that I think it's also still relevant,
Yes, of course.
regardless of time,
Of
of,
course. Making a movie
discovering
is
your,
always the same. It's about
absolutely.
commitment and like he says in the movie, the urgency and the necessity. That's what cinema is about.
Absolutely. So the film is making its rounds through festivals and
Everyone.
also opening soon here for us in Canada. I'm excited to have folks see it. Anything else that you want to tell folks about the movie that you hope they take away with them in terms of um, something that's significant?
Well, that when you're young, you can do anything. And that's what really the film tells you. And making a movie now is even easier than it was at Godard's time because now you have your phone. You don't even need an
Right.
issue. You don't even have a camera issue. You just take your phone and go and shoot. So if you have an idea and a real desire to do something, whatever that is, can be singing, it can be acting, it can be. I think it's really a movie that tells you if you're really in your guts, that's what you want to do. What are
Mhm.
you waiting?
Right. And
I
following that
really
passion.
think that's what people should remember from the movie and take away from the movie. And I got a lot of people who told me, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to do this and tomorrow I'm going to try that. And yes, you're right. I have to give it a chance. Give it a chance. Come on. What do you have to lose?
For sure. And finding that passion
Exactly.
and following that passion. For yourself, Michelle, any big projects that you can share with us that are coming up that we can look
Well, we
forward
just finished a movie directed by a woman director, Laetitia Masson, who worked with me on the research
to?
of this one. We
Nice.
produced her new movie, which is beautiful, a very personal, very moving story with Elodie Bouchez as a lead. We hope to bring it out next spring. It's really, really beautiful. And we have a few in development that I'm a superstitious girl, so I won't talk about it yet.
No, that's fair. I respect that. I also just want to say thank you
And we
for
also
sharing.
have, we're still distributors, so we are going to
Oh,
release the Park Walk
okay.
early,
Nice.
early next February, and
Yes.
the New Girls Dance, which we bought at TIFF,
Oh, nice.
and which we're going to release in April.
Okay, amazing. Always busy, Michelle.
Always, of course,
Well,
you have
I,
that.
well, I wanted to say thank you for sharing about your work, and
It
also
was
I
a pleasure,
had
Heidi.
no
Thank you.
idea about Raise the Red Lantern. That's one of my favorite films of all time.
Ah, I
Lovely to
can
see
still
that.
see the opening and I cry my heart out.
Yes, it definitely is one of those films that stays with you for a long time.
Yeah. Mm.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. Such a pleasure to
Thank
speak with
you.
you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.